There is a stillness to the stars, not silence in the way we understand it, but a stillness born of scale, of uncountable distances and unimaginable time. It is the hush of light traveling for 1,000 years without interruption, of particles older than the Earth drifting in orbits carved before we had names for constellations. In that stillness, we've always searched for meaning, for signs, for patterns too regular to be random, for flickers in the dark that say, "You are not alone." For much of our scientific history, we imagined the signal would come as sound, a tightly packed beam of radio waves, a burst of logic laced into microwave static, perhaps a mathematical greeting from one mind to another. SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, trained its ears on the sky, and we listened, patiently, hopefully, but the silence endured, not a silence of failure, but of mystery. So we began to wonder, what if the message wasn't something we'd hear, but something we'd see? What if intelligence, once it grows old and powerful, doesn't reach out with signals, but builds? What if it leaves monuments behind instead of messages? Structures so massive they alter the very stars that power them. Machines that harvest suns. Cities that orbit light itself. Not words, but works. That's where the idea of megastructures enters the cosmic story. Imagine it, a civilization so advanced it no longer fears energy shortages, climate catastrophe, or extinction. Instead, it turns its engineering brilliance to the stars, building not castles, but spheres. Dyson spheres, Dyson swarms, millions of satellites orbiting a star in silent harmony, capturing its energy, dimming its light, and glowing with waste heat. From where we stand, fragile, hopeful, earthbound, such a thing would look like a mystery. A flickering star, a dimming that defies nature, a signature that doesn't belong. The first such candidate was Tabby's star, a yellow-white dwarf in the constellation Cygnus that blinked at us without warning. Not with a regular pulse like a planet passing in front, but with chaotic, uneven dips. Sometimes shallow, sometimes deep, sometimes nothing at all. It was as if something vast and irregular was passing between us and the star. At first, scientists tried to explain it with known phenomena: dust clouds, swarms of comets, instrument errors. And while some of those theories remain possible, none were fully convincing. For the first time, respected astronomers uttered a possibility that had long lingered in the background of SETI discussions. We cannot rule out the presence of an artificial structure. And just like that, the rules of the game changed. No longer were we waiting for radio signals or mathematical greetings from the stars. We were searching for architectural anomalies, errors in starlight that might mean we're looking at something that was built, not born. It's a strange place to be as a species, to admit that the evidence isn't clear and yet still take the possibility seriously. But that's what science does. It holds wonder and doubt in equal tension. It allows us to ask the impossible question and still demand a rational answer. And as we search, the sky becomes a puzzle, a lattice of stellar light, each piece offering a clue to what might lie beyond our understanding. Some stars flicker and fade in ways we can't explain. Some radiate too much heat. Some move strangely, or pulse with rhythms too erratic for planets and too regular for chaos. We catalog them. We flag them. We run simulations and compare their light curves to models both natural and theoretical. We use AI to scan for patterns we haven't yet trained ourselves to notice. And slowly, patiently, we peel back layers of the unknown. We ask not just what is this, but could this have been made? This new era of the search for extraterrestrial life is not about little green men. It's about infrastructure. It's about engineering at a scale that reshapes stars and redefines planets. It's about looking into the cosmos and asking, if someone else survived long enough to dream bigger than we ever have, what would they leave behind? Would their cities orbit light? Would their libraries be encoded in radiation? Would their greatest monuments be invisible to us? Unless we knew how to read starlight as a record of construction, this is no longer just a search for contact. It's a search for presence. Because maybe they don't want to speak. Maybe they're simply out there, living their lives, indifferent to the younger minds still struggling to survive. Or maybe they're gone, and their machines are all that remain, still orbiting, still dimming their stars, still carrying out instructions written by a species long vanished into time. And maybe, just maybe, we've already seen one. Not recognized, not understood, but already recorded. Already buried in terabytes of observational data, waiting for someone to see it for what it really is. And if we do, it won't be the end of a search. It will be the beginning of an era. The first confirmed evidence, not of life, but of legacy. But perhaps the most haunting realization of all is this. If alien civilizations once reached the stars, if they built machines so vast that they eclipsed suns, and if those machines still operate now, long after their creators have gone silent, then we may already be witnessing the ghosts of intelligence. Not living voices, not transmitting minds, but systems, still humming, still orbiting, still casting their shadows across the cosmos, like automated monuments to a vanished brilliance. We would not hear their language. We would not see their faces. We would see only the echo of a desire once held, the desire to endure. What would it mean for us to know that life once emerged elsewhere and transcended biology? That consciousness once scaled up its dreams until it reshaped solar systems? That someone, somewhere, chose to meet entropy with ingenuity? Such a discovery would be unlike any in human history. It would not be a conversation. It would be an epiphany, because it would tell us, we are not the only story. We are not the only ones to wonder, to build, to reach. And if they reached this far, if they mastered the very architecture of light, then perhaps the future is survivable after all. Imagine the timelines involved. Imagine the civilizations that began when Earth was still molten, that rose and fell before the first complex life crawled from our seas. Entire histories played out in the margins of cosmic silence, unknown, unfelt, but very real. Perhaps their megastructures are all that remain, relics orbiting forgotten stars, power systems built to run autonomously for eons. A cosmic infrastructure that outlived its makers, continuing its function not because anyone watches, but because no one remembered to shut it off. We tend to think of civilizations as present tense, but the galaxy may be filled with the artifacts of the long dead. And in that view, the stars become more than objects. They become sites, memorials, ruins. Our task, then, is not to wait for first contact. It is to become archaeologists of starlight. We must train our telescopes not just on the brightest stars, but on the odd ones, the irregular ones, the dimmers, the loners, stars with curves that don't quite fit, stars that shimmer when they shouldn't, stars that burn with a surplus of waste heat, as if something enormous is drinking their energy and sweating the excess into space. In those anomalies, we may find our evidence. Not dramatic, not cinematic, but mathematical, radiometric, thermal, quiet.